What if you've got no money, no backup plan, and your family is counting on you? You find out what you're truly made of. I've been there, and the one person that helped me get through it is Jonathan Potoshnick, the lawn care millionaire, the founder of CitiTurf, true friend and mentor. In this video, we break down the exact door-to-door sales plays and pricing strategies that took me to $10 million in under 5 years. If your back's against the wall, you're not alone. Let's get to it.
I wanted to talk to you because in 5 years, only 5 years, you've door knocked your way to over a $10 million business.
Sure.
You're killing it in pest control, fertilization, weed control, but really almost all pest, right?
Yeah, 90% pest control.
90% pest control.
10% for weed.
Yeah. So it's awesome.
Yeah.
So one of the things that in conversations that I encounter all the time is people don't have any money.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out, how do I get this business off the ground? How do I grow this business? Or because I have no money, how do I do this faster than 10 years to $1 million?
Right.
And
I've been there too.
you did that route as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that we should talk about that.
Yeah.
And so what I often suggest is, if you have the courage, a strategy that absolutely works is knocking on doors.
Yeah, I agree.
And
this
so
goes back to like the old, my grandpa used to knock doors, funny enough. He had a grocery business. He had a truck that you drive around. And that's how you fill out his grocery route.
really,
Knock on doors. Yeah. So it goes back to the 60s and 70s.
yeah.
It's a great strategy. Just a lot of people don't want to do it anymore.
Well, when I accidentally ended up in the lawn care business again, because I did it in high school and I didn't want to do it again. You've heard that story where we bought those accounts.
Yeah.
The only way I could get that thing to go was knocking on doors, but commercial, walking into doors and asking for business.
Been there, done
and
that
it
too.
worked.
It does.
It sucked, but it worked really well.
Yeah.
So
And I think that's how most of us started out, though, right? Like very, very, very early on, we were door knocking. We didn't really know what we were doing at first.
Yeah.
And then you start to get a little bit of money, business starts to roll, and then you stop doing things that actually work, and you go, I need to go back online.
Yeah.
Or if you just taught everyone else how to do like guerrilla style marketing, like we're going to get into, like, why even go online? You don't need to.
Right.
Way cheaper.
Door knocking's cheaper.
Yeah, if you're just by yourself, it's free.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's exactly. So I want to talk through, how would somebody do this?
Yeah.
But first, let's talk about gaining the courage to do it.
It's the hardest part.
And the mindset of it. Yes.
The hardest door to open is your own car door.
Yeah.
It just, and it's every day.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any easier.
Oh, it doesn't. Okay.
No.
I guess that was my experience. I didn't do it for that long. I did it.
Yeah.
I did it for a short enough window that it built a couple $100,000 of revenue on top of the revenue we had.
Yeah.
But I do remember sitting in my truck in Dallas in the warehouse areas, psyching myself up to get out of the truck, thinking about every other thing. It's like, maybe I should go back to the office and deal with this problem kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like all that stupid noise.
Finding excuses not to do the one thing that needs to be done.
All right. So how did you do it, and how do you do it with your teams from the standpoint of mindset?
Yeah, I was forced to do something. COVID hit Michigan. It was a weird time. We literally couldn't do anything. Zero. Shut down. You knew back then that I wanted to go to Green Bay Appleton anyway. We talked through that strategy, but I wasn't there yet. And COVID's what's forced me there.
Yep.
And I didn't have any clients. I had nothing. I wrapped the truck, built the website, and drove down there at 4 o'clock every single morning, 2 hours back and forth each way, and just taught myself how to knock doors. I didn't know. I have a clue. I didn't have any subscriptions. I didn't have contracts. I had nothing.
So you just did it. You didn't have a person you had talked to get some ideas.
Not at that point. It was a YouTube university. So at that point, there's nothing.
Okay.
And so I wasn't selling quarterlies. I was just selling one-time pest control.
Really? Like one-time visit?
Yeah, one-time visit. That's how I started.
So that you were just trying to get them in the door by doing one visit with you, and then you'd sell them into an agreement?
Yeah, and sell them into agreement. And it worked out. It did work out.
Okay.
I wouldn't do that way if I started back over, but I just didn't know what I was doing. So didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I just started knocking doors, and I was like, oh, this. And lucky enough, I remember walking up to the first door. My back was against the wall. I didn't have a choice. I had to make it work. I could work in Wisconsin. So first door, I knocked on this lady's house. Well, I went to go knock on her door. I almost threw up, walked away, had to take a deep breath. I was so nervous, walked back up. Lucky enough, her dog was allergic to hornets, and there's a hornet's nest there. So in the ground.
Okay.
So I sold my first door that I ever knocked.
Oh, really?
So I was like, I don't know how to explain it. Like just something that happened perfectly.
Okay.
And I was like, wait, that wasn't so bad. I could do this again. So I just super motivated then. I went and treated the house, did all the services myself at the time because it's just me.
So did you just sell the one and then immediately just do service?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I took care of that, took care of her issue, and I was like, I can do that again. And then I think I ended my first day with, I don't remember, 2 or 3.
Okay.
And I was like,
you sold 2 or 3 your first day?
My first day. And I was like, okay, I just made, $400, $500. So I was like, dang, that was easy. And then I did that for like 2 weeks by myself. And then I was like, okay, I started decently at it. I could knock 100 doors a day, roughly, maybe a little bit more. I was working longer hours. And then I started bringing a technician with me. And then I was the one doing the service because he wasn't certified. So he was doing some tech work and I was selling. He was selling. And then I taught him how to sell. And then, I was like, now we have 2 of us going. We're filling up a route in one day. I'm like, dang, everyone's home. It's COVID time.
Oh, that's true. That's
single person's home.
Oh, that's a big advantage.
It was. And I didn't know what to do because of COVID. I wanted to start, but I didn't know what to do there because I didn't want to make anyone mad. So I waited till it was like early June. And I'm like, I got to do something. And then finally, I started knocking doors and everyone's home. Like everyone's happy to see us. Literally talking to someone else finally. And everyone had a little bit extra money. It was great. Good timing. So it was just really good timing to get to the market.
So that, as I hear it, that gave you confidence.
Yeah.
To keep going at this.
Yeah, it was like I got lucky in the first door, and then all of a sudden, I think by the end of that summer, I'd sold like 2 or 3. I can't remember the exact number. 280 or 380 accounts.
Okay.
And then I had another person with me, and at the end of the year, I was like, "Dang, I love this model. I could do this."
Okay.
And then we can get there, but then I actually hired someone the next year to actually teach it.
And now, don't you have like 80 guys or something like that?
Yeah, the last time I looked, there was this was like 3 weeks ago that I looked, 4 weeks ago, whatever it was, and there's 84 sales reps who were on the leaderboard that week.
Okay.
So I know there's some more since that I've got for summer help, and some have left because they don't keep all of them. You know, they don't make the first 2 weeks is hard.
Yeah,
anything.
You probably churn a bunch of guys.
Exactly.
So let's talk about that. So
Sure.
Because it'll apply to somebody who's like, oh, I want to do this, but I don't know how to do it. So I know that a lot of guys churn out, and that's just true in outbound sales in general. But how do you talk to them? I know there's a self-selection here because they've even applied for this job.
Yeah.
So it's a different kind of person anyway. But how do you help them work through getting the confidence to actually knock the door and then go to the next door quickly and the next one?
I think that's more of like a screening thing.
Okay.
Like when I'm interviewing someone or I want to recruit someone, like if they're walking up to me and their eyes go down to the floor and they're not going to interact, like it's just not that they couldn't sell.
Okay.
But the biggest thing is just confidence. And if you'd be surprised the kids who are just confident that don't know what they're doing that the first day they get sales just because they don't care.
Because they
just don't care.
And
and then there's people who just like they really care what other people think, and so like then they get in their own head.
Okay.
And then they just don't sell well.
Okay.
And it takes a while. And like so you got to do one thing 10,000 times before you get any good at it at all. So it's no different than anything else. It's just having the mindset. And me, I didn't have a choice. And most business owners that are watching this, if they want to grow, like their number one activity is revenue generating income. So they should be working at all times.
I agree. So we're talking to a friend. Imagine that doesn't door knock, knows they should, isn't excited about the idea of doing it. How they didn't self-select into your application process. Yeah. How do we talk to them? How do you convince them they should do this? How do you help them get courage to do it?
It's simple. Like you said, you don't have a lot of money. You want to grow.
Yep. And
so it's like Alex, we talk about this before, what Alex says all the time is do the rule of 100.
Yeah.
Do something 100 times a day, every single day, and you're going to get results.
Yep.
And number one thing that these guys can do that's free is knock doors. Go knock 100 doors a day.
Yep.
You don't have a lot of money, but you have a lot of time. So maybe you only have 2 or 3 services a day. Get done in a half hour, or let's say an hour and a half. And you got 7.5 hours to go work on something. Go get more customers. Talk. It's really not that hard.
Yeah.
It's more of just a mindset thing than anything. And if you're servicing that customer's house, like we talked about it with cloverleaf, it's the same scenario. But instead of cloverleafing with a door hanger, just go cloverleaf
by
knock the door, introduce yourself, tell them what you're doing for your customer. They might not trust you yet, but they're gonna trust the neighbor. You know that they've probably seen your truck before if it's logoed. So it's really easy at that point.
It's the whole knock on the door. Hey, John, or they don't know my name. Hey,
exactly.
We were just taking care of Bob. You know Bob, right?
Yeah.
You know Bob that lives right over there.
You've probably seen our pink trucks around.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, I don't know Bob, but I've seen your pink trucks all over, but whatever, So you gain credibility right there.
Is that an example of what somebody should say from, like, what would you say right from
exactly,
number one?
Like it's go back to marketing 101, right? You get 3 seconds.
It's your headline.
Exactly. You get 3 seconds to a headline. We call it an icebreaker.
Yeah.
You get 3 seconds, and they're going to shoo you away or let you talk for another 3 seconds. So the first thing is establishing credibility and trying to relate to them. So pick out something that you have identified that they like with you. If I saw your cars, you and I could talk about cars. if I seen you wearing 6 shoes, like I would start talking about shoes because I could talk about shoes all day long.
Yeah.
Finding something you can relate to them. It could be maybe it's a flag of the Marines that you're in the Marine Corps. Maybe it's like a sports team that you relate with that's on a flag. Anything like that you can relate to them real quick with, that will drop their walls. Because like again, they don't want you there. They don't know why you're there. Think of like if you walk into you might be different, but most people when they walk in and someone says, "Hey, can I help you?" Like walk into a store and looking for shoes. Like someone walk up and say, "Hey, can I help you out?" What do most people say?
I'm just looking.
Yeah, I'm just looking. So it's like you don't want to that. You really know that you want to go buy something, but it's an RDR. So like they're just trying to shoo you away. Same thing.
What's an RDR?
It's a reactionary defense response.
Okay.
Right. So like it's just I just need to talk to someone else. Like I just don't want to talk to them.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that they're feeling. They just want you gone. But as soon as you can drop their walls by relating to them, and then before you make the transition into like what you're going to say next, is like something you can relate with. So it's your headline. You get 3 seconds to get to the next part of your pitch. So yeah, it's basically what you talk about.
I get door knocked all the time, and they do. Everybody starts with some comment about my place. Absolutely. Or some comment about
homeowner,
some comment about a neighbor they've been taking care of and they name that person. Yeah. And so you're kind of saying one of those 2 angles right there. So for example, if you were to comment like, "Man, this is the most epic house on the street."
Yeah.
Do you then immediately roll into it? And do you know Bob? Like we've been taking care of Bob.
Yeah. So I would transition.
Or how would you?
I would just say my transition word has always been well anyways. Well anyways. It's like how I transitioned to like from like establish a relationship real quick and I said, well anyways, like almost like I forgot that I was here.
Okay. I'm curious if I know I cut you off, but I'm curious if you stack. So you gave 2 examples here of ways you would approach this as a headline. One is establishing credibility. Yeah. Kind of it's a version of social proof. Right. Take care of the neighbor down the street.
And that comes in like step 3.
Okay. The other one is relating.
Yeah. So the first one is like relatability.
So you start with relating.
Exactly.
And then do you volley back to let them say a word, or do you keep rolling?
No, I usually I'll have a conversation with them.
Okay.
Until I just feel it's about to fizzle out. Okay. That's when I make transition.
And then you say,
"Hey, my name is Jonas Olson. I'm here with Pest Badger," and I look down at my shirt.
You do that after the chit chat.
Yep. And then I'll make eye contact with them, but I'm not staring them down either. My posture says everything.
Yep.
And then like it's a planned look away, we call it. I'm gonna look down at my shirt. They're gonna obviously look at my shirt. They're gonna see the logo. Then it's like, okay, I've seen these guys before with the pink trucks, whatever. And that's where we transition. And then I tell them why I'm in the area. Okay. And that's where you're talking about like establishing credibility with the neighbors.
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed a number of people will kind of knock on the door and then they'll step back from the door.
For sure.
Is that?
Absolutely. So like even during COVID, that like we had to say that we were trying to keep that distance.
Yeah.
But what I found out is like if you're too close, people they don't want to come outside. And so what happened is like you get some older people who are maybe a little more nervous, or a female that's by home alone that you just don't know. You always want to stand at a 45-degree angle so it doesn't feel like they're trapped.
Okay.
So you stand at a 45-degree angle so that way when they come out the door, they can see in front of you. They don't feel like they're trapped. And you take a step back 6 to 8 feet.
Do you take the step back once you see them?
Yeah, I do.
Or if you were waiting for them to come to the door, have you already stepped back?
Yeah,
or you wait till you see them?
I usually hit the button or knock on the door. They always say that friends knock doors, so I actually knock the door. Oh. And if they don't come, then I'll hit the doorbell.
Okay.
And then I'll step back and wait for them to come out. And I look like I'm busy because I usually am, whether that's responding to one of my guys or whatever. Until they come out, they address me, then I'll look up and start talking.
Okay.
But then, just make sure you step back. And what I've also found out too is like people, like older people, come back to that. If the older people are maybe a single female or whatever that's home alone with kids or whatever, like they won't want to open the door. So when they do that, I'll take like another 10 steps back. And it shows like I'm willing to back up. Then they'll actually come outside.
Okay. Tell me again, how soon in the conversation do you state who you are?
It could be anywhere. It could be from 3 seconds to 5 minutes.
Okay.
Just depends on where the conversation's at.
Okay.
If it's like, we call it a bull that comes out, like typically a bull is like a business owner, got jacked up truck. Think of like that profile of a person. That's like, why at my house, right? Like that. That person, it's way different pitch. It's like, hey, establish your credibility quick and then get ready to the pitch. You don't want to beat around the bush with that guy. He just wants to say, what's the price?
He's action oriented.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it depends because you're profiling really fast. So they're profiling you just fast as you're profiling them.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's like, there's more to it than just talking, but as far as just starting out, like you guys will get better at this, and I have a bunch of content that I'll create around this topic too. But that pitch has made me millions of dollars at this point.
Sure.
Yeah. So and it's not like I mean, all the same people use somewhat similar
It's
pitch.
been tried and true.
Forever.
They've perfected it.
I mean, back in like teleprompting days,
Yeah.
calling people, like, we talked about earlier too, it's like, it's all the same.
Yeah.
It's just sales, But it's just, the biggest part is just establishing credibility and just, building that relationship quick to get to the next part of your pitch. You're not going to sell everyone, so.
What if somebody comes to the door and they immediately say, we're not interested?
They never are. I mean, they
Yeah,
don't
of
even know
course
why
they're
you're
not.
there.
Yeah. So what do you say?
So I just be like, yeah, not a problem. I just left Jones' house. So let me show
Same
you what I'm
pitch, similar
Let
pitch,
me
you
show you
roll
what
right
I'm
into it.
Let me show you what I'm doing for her real quick. If it works for you, cool. If not, that's cool too. They're like, oh, okay, well, I'll listen. Now you just name drop their neighbor's name. You told them it's okay if they don't want to hear anymore. Right? I said, if it works for you, cool. If not, that's cool too. So you're like not pressuring them or anything,
Yeah.
but they'll make you listen a little bit longer. Then you tell them what they're doing. They're like, oh, well, that makes sense.
Do you think about the stuff like when you're asking questions, you're trying to phrase them where they give a yes or no, or like give a yes answer?
It's never.
Do you think about any of that stuff?
Yeah, I
or-
do. So
Okay.
like, I never ask a yes or no question. I usually know the answer. Like, because I've done it so many times.
Well, I mean more like a leading question where you know it's going to be a yes.
Exactly.
Or that concept is they're opening up.
Exactly.
You
Like,
worry about that stuff.
Exactly. I do.
Okay.
It's like I've done it so many times I don't even think about it anymore. Like it just happens naturally. But it's usually never a yes or no question. If it is, it's like an option close or whatever. And like I say, the neighbors next door, and if they don't, yeah. There's a lot.
Explain option close.
Sure. So option close is super easy. It's not like you're hard close to anyone. It's like not car sales. Like it's just different. But it's simple as like, what car would you like to use on file today? Or would you like to use ACH? Or, and I'll say like, would you like to use debit or ACH?
It's
Most
the assumptive close
Exactly.
where their answer is essentially
Doesn't
progressing
matter.
it to
It doesn't
a close.
matter.
Yeah.
And this is where almost all rookies and new guys that want to start, the number one thing that they should be thinking of is always be closing. I know it's super old and cliche, but it's so true. As long as you close often, right, you're going to get sales. But most people are afraid to make that actual close. That's the hardest part as a rookie. So yeah, just simple close like, would you like my technician to start in the front or the back of the house? Would you like me to pop the garage open and do the inside first, or just start on the outside? It doesn't matter what they say.
Yep.
I'm still coming.
Yeah. Right. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so then like back to like the ACH or debit. I pitch you like use debit or ACH. Most people just use ACH because we can charge an interest fee for debit. So I'm letting them choose the option of debit, but I'm pushing them to the ACH because I want them to choose ACH.
Okay.
And they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. They're like, yeah, if you want to do debit, that's fine. Let's charge an extra $7, cover that interest fee. They're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'll go grab whatever,
I see.
So get their ACH.
What are a couple other, kind of think of the 80-20 of this.
Yeah.
What are a couple of the other things that you just cover all the time with your team to get them up to speed?
Again, just like having the tenacity to keep going after it. And that's the only difference between someone who's do really good and really bad. Some of it's natural ability, but it can be learned too. Like I've seen a lot of people that learn the skill. Just be confident and just go out there and sell, like, especially you as an owner. No one's going to sell your product better than you at the beginning. And then they're going to get to where they're really, really good. But at first, no one's going to sell your product better than you. That's why you're always the best sales guy on the phone, the best sales guys in the field. You're confident. You know your product. You know what you're selling. You have to be bought into your product too. If you're not using the product, and let's say you don't have a lot of money, and you're trying to go sell someone a $1,000 pest control contract, like, God damn, that's just way too expensive. But these guys have hundreds or thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. Like $1,000, they don't even think about it.
Yeah.
So like you can't think like with like your income level, think of where they're at. And again, believe in your product, especially if you don't use your product too. And some of you that are younger, not going to have homes, but if you do have homes, you're not doing fertile at your own house, and you're not doing pest control at your own house, it's hard to believe in the product if you're not actively using it, watching it work. So things that we talk about in our meetings will be like going over 5-star reviews or having our sales guys go watch their service being done so they can see like how much of a difference we're really making out there.
That makes sense.
We hit on that pretty hard too.
Something that I should have said from the beginning, we're talking about this in the frame of pest control,
Right.
but it works for fertilization, weed control. It works for, you name the service offering.
It doesn't matter. HVAC, plumbing, pest control, lawn care, mowing, fertilization. I've sold it all, honestly, in most states at this point. So it really, really works, And for weed control, mowing is the easiest thing to sell in the door. No one's doing it. So
yeah. Most people, in my experience, are trying to sell me into a contract. Is that critical?
I would say yes and no. So why I say yes is because you're paying, like us, we're paying sales guys. So, we paid out an agreement, they're technically locked in for 12 months or 18 months, whatever you guys want to do there. I still don't like it because I've always been a JP model, like don't have contracts in place. So it's in there for that to say, hey, we gave you a discount on the initial service that comes off at the end if you cancel. We pitch it that way. Like I told you before, I'm to the point where like I don't want to be that company.
Yeah.
That I'd rather just let them cancel right away, not have to pay the sales guys out on it. They're going to cancel at some point anyway, even if you try to save them. And what did you do? You charge them a $150 cancellation fee, then they're pissed off. You can never win their business back.
And you'll get a bad review, and they'll tell 10 other people.
So I'm telling you from experience because we had to learn that.
Yeah.
So as much as most people hold them to the contract, I just let them go and hopefully win their business in the future.
So let's say, does the contract, in your opinion, increase retention?
No.
Okay.
I don't believe so. I mean, it might, only because maybe people are afraid to call.
Yeah.
Or, people, what else I found is like a lot of people just lie.
Excuse me.
A lot of people lie.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things we put in place for that too, but no, I really don't think that it does.
Okay.
I think it puts more of a sour mouth. People want to cancel, they want to cancel anyway. So like how many places have you Verizon or what, not throwing up Verizon, but cell phone companies in general.
Yeah.
Like you want to call and cancel their phone companies, like, oh, you gotta pay $300. Like you're all mad. So I've been there and I felt that. So again, something that I had to learn through experience though.
Okay.
It's not worth my reputation.
So I've got to imagine that sometimes you knock on a door, you're seconds in and you're like, geez, I should have never knocked this door. It's going to be a giant waste of my time.
Right.
And maybe you feel like you're sucked in now to the conversation.
For sure.
How do you figure out when to bail on that conversation, try to get away from, to not waste your day?
And
how do you do it?
Yeah, there's been times where you just get sucked into conversation and they're never going to buy. And a lot of people think that building rapport is like conversations, like you're just like having a conversation for 35 minutes and it doesn't ever go anywhere.
Yeah.
So as a rookie, you struggle there. He's got to qualify really fast.
Okay.
So how do we qualify? So it's like, okay, do they have an issue in the lawn? Do you notice grubs? Do you notice weeds? Right? Do they already have a service? Do they have bugs? Do you see bugs? Do they have a pest control company? Like all those tell me that they're a qualified person to buy. So if they don't have issues, they don't have a company, they see no value, it's hard to sell that person.
Okay.
But you'll know real fast.
I'm sure I assume most of the time it's not hard to end the conversation because they didn't want to talk to you anyway.
Exactly.
What's a nice way to wrap it up and move on?
I just have a great day.
Okay.
Hey, you're going to have, another point you can touch on, you're going to have some angry people.
Yeah.
I'm not going to
dude.
People are just, most people are just great people in general out there.
What would you, if you assigned a percentage to give people confidence?
Less than 0.5, honestly.
So less than half of 1%.
Yeah. If you go knock 100 doors and do that for a week and you run into one super angry person.
No, that's less than 0.5.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's
okay.
Like,
Wow.
It's
nothing.
No.
All right.
But you're going to have that person who comes out just to warn you. Just going to happen. Like, I've seen guns pulled on our guys. Like, not pulled, like
threatened, like flashed kind of thing.
Flash or sitting there in their hand that's down. We've had people call our office, said that the next person who knocks on the door come kill us and throw us in the river, like whatever, right? Tough through a voicemail. But anyway, so you're just going to have those people, just kill them with kindness. Go. Okay. Yeah, sorry, you have such a bad day. You like tell them a joke real fast if you're quick on your feet. Crack a joke real quick and drop their walls. But just know you're going to have those people. Try and then just walk away. It's not worth your time. Spend your time with qualified buyers. Yeah. Like I don't know how to say this, but like if you want to go practice, when we go practice in the ghetto for fun, they're going to sign up. They do, but they cancel. But if you want to get some, a trailer park or just like get your nerves out of the way.
You're saying practice somewhere where they're not even potential buyers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then move to a better market if you didn't want to burn doors. I'm not saying you have to do that, but it's an idea that we ran in the past. And you'll be surprised.
So this part of the conversation right here is why I think most people would be afraid to knock a door.
For sure.
You're not afraid of Miss Smith answering and being friendly.
No.
You're afraid of the jerk.
Right.
And so what is an example? You gave examples of maybe a joke. So I'm guessing then that the team has thought in advance of a few little things that they can say where to diffuse. So they've planned for the confrontational moment.
Exactly. So like and everyone sells different and everyone responds different to these types of things. Some people will just run away with their tail between legs.
Okay.
And some people will just stand there not afraid at all because they've done it hundreds of thousands of times and they're just used to it. And they'll just stand there and they'll take it. And then they'll drop a line, whether it's the dude has a boat or truck or something. It drops their walls real fast. And like it's amazing how fast they turn. Not all the advisors do that, but some bulls will do that. And but the person who flashes their gun, you just walk away.
I can't help but imagine you've got some guys that just see it as a challenge, and you might want to close that deal.
And you'll find out like a bull like that comes out like, what do you want? Like up in your face. They're some of your fastest sales ever, and they stick forever, and they tell all their friends.
Really?
Because you're just willing to stand up to them, and just show you're confident. Like those sales will happen less than 60 seconds. Like, no, just tell me how much. They're like, oh, this is what we do. This is the price. He's like, perfect. Where do I sign? And they just want to go back to what they're doing. So sometimes it's your fastest sale, but you just got to stay in the pocket longer. Okay. Most people are just too afraid. They'll just walk away.
Okay. Now, if you're knocking a door and it's you, the owner, just trying to get the business off the ground or build it fast.
Yeah.
What I'm about to ask probably doesn't qualify, but if you've hired an person and you're not paying them, what is sort of a minimum deal size that you think makes sense for door knocking? And let's say deal size means the value of the client over the life of the client.
For sure. That's a great question.
By life of client, I mean they're going to pay you $500 for 6 years, so they're worth $3,000. Yeah. That's life of the LTV or life of the client.
Yeah. So I think what you should do is call around your competitors and see where the average price is in your area. Call the True Greens, call the Terminexes, call the big companies, and do some homework before you go out there. You got to know your competitors better than you know yourself. Because if someone comes out and says that they do this, 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 and this, it's hard to overcome any of it if you don't know your customer. So we have spreadsheets of like our current, the companies that are our competition, like their website, their colors, their technicians' names, like their service offerings, how much they charge, like everything. We know how to where our USP comes into place.
Okay.
Yeah. So like do your homework. But as far as LTV, minimum, like a minimum, say, I hate to even say this, but minimum 400. I wouldn't go that low.
Wow, that's really low.
But like I said, I wouldn't go that low. That's still like,
and that's paying a guy, not just for you.
Right. I would say at a bare minimum, like you see, like you'd be surprised if you like all the old school guys that've been doing it forever. They're like 80, 90 bucks, like $75 a quarter. Like it's crazy low. I don't try to compete with anyone on price, period. And I learned that the hard way too. People don't buy off price, they buy a value. Mm-hmm. So we'll go switch someone over from a current customer and charge them double what they're already paying because they see the value in our service. They see the upgraded service. So I would hate to say 400 is a low, but 400 would be super low. I'm looking at 600 plus.
Okay.
This would be a 150 quarterly.
And again, 600 LTV.
Yeah.
So 150 quarterly. So basically, they're even only staying a year.
Right.
So you're churning them out pretty fast.
And that's if they stay a year, it's about $600.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want our customers to stay forever. That's just not real life.
But you feel you can make the economics work paying a person that only closes a $600 deal LTV.
Right.
That's interesting. It's really low. That's a low bar.
It's super low. That's like our bare minimum about $600. So our average contract value is from $600 to $1,200.
Okay. And that the question's coming from when somebody's trying to think to themselves, am I selling a service that this could work for?
Right.
That's I'm trying to establish a number that'll help them
for
understand.
Sure. So if you're around the $600, again, call your competitors because I know what the Terminexes and True Greens, they're going to charge like between $150 to $250 for an initial service. So like you just use those numbers, call around your competitors, get a good number. Again, don't put yourself at the bottom. Don't try to undercut everyone because like you'll never grow. You have no profit.
Yep.
So be in the middle, if not at the top of your market, especially if you've established credibility in your area. Maybe you're newer, but everyone knows who you are. Charge more than everyone else.
Okay. If you're going to knock, what is the best time of day, best time of week, best time of year, all that?
Great question. It's kind of like marketing again, going back to like when
it's all marketing.
It's all marketing.
It's all the same concept.
Just a different
psychology. It's all the same.
So think of like when the issues are bad, right?
Yeah.
When the mosquitoes are out, when the wasps are flying insects are around, when the rodents come out, when the lawns are starting to grow, when the weeds are popping. Like, think about all these things and like depending on your market, kind of go off that. But so that'd be like for the times of the year because any time of the year you can knock year round. Even in cold markets, we sold agreements that are negative 33 degrees, so it can be done all year long.
Do you with your team? Do you door knock year round?
No.
Okay.
Well, we have one market that does. Yeah.
Okay, but otherwise you're spinning them up and down.
Yep.
Okay.
Spin them up and down, and then but as far as best times of the day, I think that most people would disagree with this, but early mornings.
Oh, really?
Like that's when I first started from like 7 to 9 o'clock. Again, everyone is home. again, it was COVID, so it was different. But everyone was home early, and I did really good in early mornings. But my guys aren't morning guys; they stay up late. They're young. Lunchtime, obviously, everyone's coming home for lunch. That period between 11 and 1 o'clock. So be on the doors by 10:30. Get in your neighborhood, get to talk to people, find out what the issues are in the area. Because you get into a neighborhood, what you find is that most like whatever weed that someone's dealing with, it's typically in all the lawns.
Yeah.
And if it's the same thing with a bug, if you're dealing with one issue, it's usually the same issue with all the houses. So just start talking to people, get to know people, see what the issues are. And then by the time lunch comes around, people start to come home. You have lots of people to talk to. And then, of course, anywhere from 5 o'clock till dark.
Okay. Yeah, I would have guessed nights and weekends.
Yeah. And so that would be so lunch first, prime time, or lunch is great.
So a lot of people come home for lunch.
Yeah. And then prime time is from 5 to dark.
Okay.
If you have people that are working full-time jobs, upper middle class, they're doing construction, whatever, making good money. They usually go home till 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. And so think about those people coming home later on. And it, stays light this time of year till 9, 10 o'clock. So we're working till dark. And then, of course, if you have a bad week, one Saturday can fix an entire week because everyone's home. Start early, but have that done. Try to get there earlier than most days because people by 1 o'clock are usually off to do whatever they're doing for the weekend. So try to get there early. Go knock those doors.
Your best guy, record number dollars of sales in one day.
23,000, I think, somewhere right in there in a day.
23,000 in one day.
Yeah, in a day. We've had single houses that are $6,000 a piece of big houses.
So that's how you get part of that.
Oh, that was like the highest one contract.
Okay, yeah.
That was just one house. I think it's like $4,800 one house for a year. But yeah, when one day is like 23,000, it was like 23 counts, 24 accounts, all around that $1,000 mark. 23 sales is a lot. My best day was I think 15 or 17. But again, I wasn't selling like these guys selling. Like at this point, they do it all day, every day.
Yeah,
and they're better than I am.
Yeah,
because they're in it all day, every day. I know back in the day, I could probably keep up with them, but they're so good now.
Yeah. How often would somebody close over 10,000 in a day?
You just have to be really good.
Okay.
So we have guys that could do it that could potentially do it every day.
Wow.
I mean, you've seen the leaderboard. They put up some big numbers. We have a few that are just animals, and everyone sells different, so it doesn't say you can't do it. It's not like, well, one is super reserved, quiet, but to the point. Other one doesn't shut up.
Yep.
Very social, very, very fun to be around. So it doesn't matter which profile you are, as long as you're willing to go out there and sell, you can sell.
And by the way, when we're talking about selling 23 or 10,000 in a day, that's the contract value over the year.
Course of the year.
That's not
service revenue that day.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So that you'll earn that revenue. You sold the revenue, but you'll earn it over 12 months.
12 months. Yeah. Exactly.
Still
great. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So we make the CAC work, make the LTV work. A lot of our branches are new, so we don't have a lot of that data yet, but some of our old school branches are getting really good data. We actually just hired a data team to come in, start pulling the data for us. We know exactly exactly where the customer at is in their life cycle, which ones are about to churn out, which ones are just not that are going to churn, which ones are good customers, so we can start talking to them. Emails, text messages, trying to save them before they cancel. So we're working on that right now too. So
let's say a individual that owned a business, who cares what the service is? Let's just say on average, that client is worth, we'll say that client's worth $3,000, or let's go $4,000. Maybe they're selling, it could be a scenario where they bring them in for one service and they expand them or upsell them into another service. So that client's got a value. Maybe they're mowing the lawn and trimming the bushes and killing bugs or whatever. Yeah. And so that they're going to be worth at least $4,000 to them. What would be a realistic number that you think somebody, it's like, they're not that good at this. Then they're never going to be that good at it because it's never going to be a big focus, but they can make it happen. Yeah. And it can at least get the business off the ground. What do you think a realistic number would be? Like, could they close one deal a day? Could they close 3 deals a day?
Yeah, I think as an average, just an average person, if you knock enough doors, you're just going to run into those people. And it happens every day to someone in their company. They're like, oh my God, my husband and I were just talking about this last night, but we didn't know who to call.
Yes.
And now you're standing at my door. Like, thank God you showed up. So you're just going to run into those people I would say every day, but if you're knocking up doors, the average is out to be one day. Yep. But I would say on average, 1 to 3 sales for a rookie would be pretty easy.
A day?
A day, yeah.
So in that scenario, if you closed one a day for a week, you'd close $20,000 in new business for the year.
Yeah. So you close one a day, say you offer them like a mowing service, you
Yep.
go in there, mow their lawn for $60, $75. And you, as you're there, oh, I just noticed, you know, see your shrubs. No one's been taking care of them. You upsell them in the shrubs, and you got whatever you want to do. That ACV to LTV CAC or CAC to LTV could be really, really significant if you're doing that service for sure.
And the reason I think about it, and that's a low bar. I think the one we just described is a super low bar. So you think about the individual I want to get off the truck so bad. I want to get out of the field, but I'm scared to go hire a person to help me because I don't know how I'm going to fill up the second truck.
I literally just created a video on this exact topic.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. This exact topic, and it's so true, right? You're trying to get out the truck. That's your number one job. Get out of the truck as fast as possible. How do you get out the truck?
Yeah.
Most time, everyone's using their personal truck at this point.
Yep.
Then they have to go buy a second truck.
Right.
So like it's like all these economics can play like that. So it's like, okay, go hire yourself a VA or a call center. You know, they're out there, and just instead of working 4 hours a day in the field and working 4 hours like doing the admin work, go hire someone to answer phone calls, teach them how to sell, light sell, teach them how to overcome a few objections. Now you get 4 hours back a day to go out there and service more or sell more. So you start filling out your route, filling out the second route. Then you can hire someone. You're doing, let's say, $10,000 to $20,000 a month now. Your recurring work. Like, okay, now I can afford someone. Now I have to go get a second truck, and that's how you fill the second truck too. Yeah, you have now you bring them in. Yep. Now you get back an additional 4 hours. So you have 8 hours a day to just go build the thing. Yeah. So spend that 8 hours knocking doors. You're gonna fill that second truck pretty fast.
Yeah, you really will.
Yeah. Then you start talking about the guerrilla marketing behind it. You know, offline marketing, online marketing. You have a little bit of cash to spend. So yeah.
I think if you have the courage to do it, step one is just door knock. Don't even bother with anything else. If you just want your second truck as fast as possible. Here's a caveat to what I'm going to say too. So I'll preface that with that. If you want to get door hangers and say you have a little bit of money and people that aren't home, you hang it out. 100% agree.
Problem though with it is that when you get sales guys or you're like, the first thing that they're going to say is, hey, I don't want the service, but I'll take one of those from you. So you almost shut yourself because you're holding them. So if you want to put them in a backpack, throw them in a backpack so they can't see it.
That's really good advice.
Start there. But if they're not home,
okay, so this applies to the guy that doesn't have a team.
Absolutely.
She shouldn't be holding the door hanger.
Right.
But every time you knock a door and nobody answers, you could hang a door hanger, or you could, depending on what you're selling, write a price on it, hang a door hanger. There's like a strategy where you're maximizing your use of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah. So I would start there. So if you have a couple $100 to go spend on door hangers, do it. If not, just go knock doors. Yeah. Because you're going to get business. Once you start filling up your trucks, you're going to get that money. You're going to go service those houses right away. Then you'll start making a lot of money fast. And that's going back to the beginning of the story. At the end of the year, I had two businesses because one opened up back in Michigan. The new company had more money than the old company. Yes, they just got through winter. Yes, I used some of that cash too, but I saw the model. I always knew I was a pretty good operator, business owner. I feel like I was really good against a lot of my peers. But I was like, what was wrong with me? We talked about this. It was my market. I was fighting my market for so long, and the service offering, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And so, once I seen the unlock and the vehicle that I need to take me where I want to go, I went all in on that one thing.
Yep. And it's worked out unbelievably well.
Yeah.
Awesome. For sure. All right. Thank you very much.
Of course.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. If you got some value out of it, please give me a follow, and please hit me with any questions in the comment section, and I'll get to those as fast as I possibly can. I have a lot to share about sales in the service industry, so keep an eye out for more content like this. Thanks, and I'll see you guys in the next video.